The Intel Core i7-4790K was a monster when it was released back in 2004, but how does it hold up now, and is it still worth it? Let's find out. I've been using this CPU for 5 years now, and I have to say that in an everyday use, this processor works just fine. By taking a look at the retail prices in 2019, you may ask yourself, is it still worth it? In order to answer this question, let's look at a similar performing modern CPU and from Intel to keep it apple to apple. I choose the i5-9600K because of the close performances. As you can see from those benchmarks, the performances are really close, especially given the 5-year gaps between the two processors. Same story in AAA titles. A little side note, games rely more heavily on GPU rather than CPU. That's why the comparison is to be taken with a grain of salt. Comparison aside, the 4990K still performed admirably on CPU-heavy tasks, like for instance emulation. Indeed, on the latest build of Simu emulator, Zelda Breath of the Wild averages 52 frames per second with a peak in the high 70s. On a more demanding emulator like RPCS3, God of War 2 HD gets an average of 45 frames per second with a peak in the high 60s, so overall a more than a playable experience. As for 3D renders, well, it's clearly where the i7 shows its age, and the score of 700 in Cinebench R15 speaks for itself. So, at this point you may be wondering, why do this video? What is the point? Well, simply because, for some reasons that I cannot explain in any way, shape or forms, the i7-4790K retails for $300 used and $250 brand new on UAD right now, which is insane for a 5-year-old CPU. For reference, the i7, who outperformed the i7, retail for $240, more than $100 less. So bottom line, should you get a 4790K in 2019? In my opinion, no, and thus for several reasons. The first one being that while remaining a good and powerful processor, a 5-year architecture doesn't suit modern standards and needs, which more often than not limit the workflow to a 1080p for a good experience. Second, the fucking price! At this price point, this CPU is a terrible value, and for what the market has to offer right now, it is a terrible price given that you can, at those price points, find way better option or even cheaper. 3. The comparable hardware. Indeed, good luck finding affordable and good 1150 socket motherboards nowadays. Like the processor, they are way too expensive, and if you manage to get your hands on one, remember that the 1150 socket limits you to using DDR3 RAM. So, to summarize, it's paying a lot of money for what is essentially an outdated technology. However, if you still own an i7, that doesn't mean you necessarily need to upgrade. A computer must answer to your needs first and foremost. But if you build yourself a new rig right now, I would strongly advise that you stay away from the 4790K, given the terrible value this CPU has become.